Welcome, everybody, to another superb edition of UniEEcast. With me, as usual, is my co-founder, David Bell, and delighted to have another superb guest, Chris Pickard, who we'll get to very, very soon. So before we start, David, business, tough at the moment. Okay, the pandemic clearly not helping. A lot of new businesses are really, really struggling, but there's signs of life because it's an opportunity as well for new businesses to grow. One of the reasons I'm excited to talk about to Chris is business is an environment where we are constantly learning. We're watching, we're talking, we're having really interesting conversations and learning from each other. And one of the things we're learning at the moment, it's tough, but there are opportunities out there.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. Look, we're in this 2020 is probably one of those years where it's a changing dynamic. Every day is something different's happening. We've seen, March the 23rd, the UK lockdown kicked in. Lots of businesses felt the pressure of that and being locked down for such a long period of time. And the not knowing, I think, doesn't help. When's it going to end? Our business is going to be able to get out there and start trading again. Some, literally did shut the doors and pulled the shutters down, which is devastating. Now, unfortunately, we've seen some losses during that time. Some businesses unfortunately haven't made it through. Others, possibly, running through in scrimping and scraping. And we come into another lockdown, 2.0, just when we thought we saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And we're now kind of a couple of weeks into lockdown 2.0. And is it all doom and gloom? No, it's not. That's the great thing, because what we're seeing is so many new businesses being born. This is the time, if you can set up a big business in 2020 during this pandemic, these unprecedented times, and get a business off the ground, I honestly do believe you're going to just sail through and be super successful in the future, because the times are not tough, but we are seeing so many new businesses, and hopefully there's more new businesses replacing the ones that we lose. I just think we're kind of pressing the reset button, Nick. Things are just kind of having to realign themselves, which I think is interesting times. I don't think we should look at the doom and gloom. We should look at the opportunity that is out there for us all as business owners, as startups, as someone who's got an idea. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? When can I launch it? And as anyone says, the best time to launch a business is now. So we find ourselves with another special guest, Nick. It's a pleasure to welcome Chris Pickards. Good evening, Chris. Welcome. Welcome to UniEEcast. Thank you for agreeing to come along and join us this evening and talk through a bit of your story, really, Chris, because we met where we support Anglia Ruskin University. We met when you and your business partner, Joy, entered the big pitch. You had a great idea and you entered the business competition, a business pitching competition. And I think your words were, well, we didn't think we were going to get very far, because that's often what everyone says. We're not going to get anywhere. But actually, it turned into something very magical, didn't it? Tell us a little bit about that story, the big pitch, and how it got you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm a part-time student at Anglia Ruskin studying sustainability, but I also have my own previous business as well that I do apart from that, which is it's in the travel industry. So it's pedestrian modelling, people modelling flows, capacity, and all these kind of things. But it does a lot of work in aviation. So with lockdown and COVID, that's completely disappeared. So I found myself without any work. So as part of the course at Anglia Ruskin, part of the unit was looking at sustainable business and coming up with ideas for that. And one of my colleagues on the course, Joy, had thought about an idea for artisan food delivery and collating farm foods and various things. And she submitted that to the big pitch, just asked me if I fancied having a go joining her on that, which seemed like a good idea. She's self-employed as well, like I am, so neither of us had any work this year. So we had a go and did it, and didn't think we'd get very far, and then won, which was quite a surprise. And then we started working on that. We put a lot of effort into it and started working through the logistics of how it's going to work and talking to suppliers. And we kind of got to a point a few months ago where we realized that it didn't quite work. The plan we had was good, but it wasn't going to quite work. And Joy's work started coming back. She had other things to be doing as well. So we decided that it was best to kind of just stop that idea and then come up with our own ideas for something else. So then I kind of, I was really keen. I'd learned a lot through that process, learned a lot through the big pitch, learned lots through talking to you as well, David. And I was just keen to have a go at something else. So I was kind of racking my brains for a new idea similar to that, which is where I came up with the current idea of online ethical chocolate shop, which is something that my family will love chocolate. It overcame the problems we had with the other business, which was to do with logistics of delivery, because this you can send through the post and it's much easier. So we started looking into it, and we started talking to some of the small ethical chocolate suppliers, and yeah, it just kind of went from there really. And it sort of, the more we looked into it, we just started as a crazy idea, and the more we looked into it, we thought, yeah, this might work. So we're now, we're nearly there, ready to launch, and yeah, very excited about it.
That's loving the sound of that. What resonates is, it doesn't matter what else is going on, ideas aren't in short supply. Already, you've talked about the big pitch, business idea, you've weighed it up, and you've decided actually that's not gonna fly. But hold on, here's another idea, and applying kind of all of those, that business mindset. You're at that point where it's ready to go. What's your big aspiration for it, Chris?
We were starting small. We're not hoping too much to start with, but we just want to have a business that for my family will just kind of keep us going. It's a bit more resilient to some of the shocks that my other industry was involved with. So something that we can get my son involved with. He's 12. He loves chocolate as well, so he's quite keen to get involved with that as well. So it's just that we want this kind of family thing that can we can just have some fun with as well. Something a bit different to the corporate world. Just something a bit different. And I think it was just, the kind of key thing for us was I learned through one of the big pitch sessions as well that came up, was the whole thing about, in business, when you get to a point of failure, it's not really a failure. It's just like you then have to think about how you take what you've learned and take it to the next step. So it's that kind of keep pivoting. And I think it's, we'll look back and think, well, actually the big pitch, perhaps, our idea didn't work. But actually it's the bit that got us to this idea and took us another step forward. So but so just really just a steady, stable business that we can enjoy. I think that's the obviously I'm a mature student as well, so I'm at that point I want to start having some work that I enjoy as well.
What a great idea though. I mean, you've got a 12-year-old son. What 12-year-old doesn't like chocolate, as you say? Running it as a family business gives you something to all work on together, and all go on that that journey hand in hand. And that means if it comes to Saturday and you're out there and you're picking and packing the chocolate, you can do it as a group, and you're gonna love that whole process of working together. Hopefully it remains that way as well, because sometimes family businesses can have their own challenges, but not normally. It's normally when it's kind of being passed down the family and stuff like that. So it's, for me, it's a great story, because you come from a place where lockdown kicked in and you had to kind of pivot, and that, from your perspective, as your words were, times are tough, the work wasn't coming in because the aviation industry have kind of dried up. What can we do? And you come up with this fantastic idea. And we were on a session the other day, the mastermind session, and so with the big pitch, the winners get access to a mastermind session to kind of keep working on their ideas. And I saw you as Mr. Willy Wonka, and I alluded you to as Willy Wonka, because I really look forward to seeing this progress and develop. And I will be buying the chocolate. There's no doubt about it.
Good to hear that.
Getting the business off the ground, obviously you had a business previously, or you've got that aviation side, the design side, and that still runs. And obviously I'm sure that will come back round at some point when we see that will kind of kick back into action. But what was the difference? Is there any difference in challenges getting this new business off the ground? I know you had to build, for example, an e-commerce platform, a website to be able to, for people to order and buy. Was you familiar with building, an e-commerce website, or is it something you've just gone, I'll get the manual out and give it a whirl?
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I'd never done that before. So I just started having to look at different platforms, talk to people, find out, and sort of look at reviews, find the best thing. I trialed some, I built test things in different platforms, and then just came up with one that looked good. And I'm still learning. It's not as easy as should be if I knew what I was doing, but I'm learning a lot as I go. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, I think, just to something completely different. And then my wife's been helping with the talking to suppliers, working with the stock, with slightly ordering. And so it's just a very different business to what I was in before. Before I was working with just on consultancy work with big clients. It wasn't really, it was running a business, but it's not in the same way as running a shop or sort of an e-commerce business. So completely different thing. I mean, obviously I've got some business knowledge, I suppose, which helped, but yeah, it's just having to keep wonder what we're doing, because it's just so different to what we're doing before. We just think, have we made a mistake? Is this really going to work? But then you have to kind of correct yourself and keep going, which is why I like the big pitch sessions, because I might be getting to a point where I'm thinking we're crazy, what are we doing? And then we have those sessions, and it's other people with other ideas, and it just kind of pushes that forward, which is great. So yeah, very different.
I love that, Chris. That moment where you think, what on earth are we doing? And you speak to other business owners, and that resonates. I think, what on earth are we doing? And that means you're getting somewhere. Because the key things you've mentioned, right? It's fun and enjoyment. Okay, and I find with business, the more you enjoy it, the more likely it is to be a success. And what carries through all of these experiences is that business mindset. So two very, very different businesses still hang on to a similar mindset. A mindset driven about, right, how do we make this work? How do we make money out of this? How do we make it so we all enjoy it? And I think some people, they look at business and think, yeah, that's tough. It's not for me. It petrifies a lot of people. But once you've launched one, I don't know that many business owners that haven't launched more than one. Because once it's in your head and you've got that business mindset straight, I think you kind of think, well, actually, I know how to do this. And all of those lessons that you learn from one to the next, not wasted in the slightest. So I'll be really interested to know what skills you've picked up in, let's say, business one, that oddly enough, although it's unrelated, are useful or relevant in business two. What is it? What skills do you kind of have in your toolbox? Do you think, no problem, I can attack this new part of the business with these same skills?
I think the really transferable one is communication. So just understanding that you don't have all the answers to what you're doing, and just you have to go and talk to people, and just being open with people and sharing your ideas so they join in and give you feedback as well. And I suppose it's the feedback thing, which when you run a business, you have to get feedback, because if people don't like what you do, the business doesn't survive. So that side of things, I think if you take into another business and you just ask for feedback and you just ask for people's views, you learn from that, don't you? And I was just having a conversation today with some friends, and I was showing them the site, and they were very come up with some sort of critical ideas and stuff, and you just take that on board and add that in as well. And I think that's the really useful thing you can take from any business and take it to the next one as well. So it's probably the main thing, I think.
Yeah, transferable skills and communication is absolutely super key. Just out of interest, you're talking about the communication, obviously finding potential suppliers. How did you source your suppliers for this range of chocolate? Because you're going down from to Norfolk down to Cornwall. How did you research and find these providers for this fantastic range of chocolate that you're going to be offering? And also, it's such a mix as well, because you're doing everything from dark to milk to dairy free to gluten free, all the huge range. What was the process of doing that? How, I know your wife took on that role as well. How did you do it as a team?
Yeah, I mean, we started with, it was a bit of knowledge ourselves anyway, but then we just started researching and reading. There was various sort of from several years ago, there was different newspaper articles. I think the Independent did an article on the best ethical chocolates, and other newspapers have as well. And so we started with a few ideas there, and then some of the brands, a lot of the brands we're buying directly from them because they're quite small. Others, so they sell through distributors, but they sell through ethical distributors as well. So we get talking to the distributors and we look at their stuff and find there's other brands that we hadn't heard of as well. And it's one of those things that we started off thinking, like, we're going to find enough. And as we started finding them and having those conversations, other things came up, and we then got to a point we thought we've got to stop here, because otherwise we just, we haven't got the money to start to buy enough chocolate. So it was kind of an organic process that just grew, I think, really from sort of a slow start. So now we're up to, I think we've got 15 brands and 150 varieties of chocolate we're starting with in the store. So we got plenty more that we could add at a later stage.
That's amazing, isn't it? When you start, when you dare to lift the stone and have a look what's out there, and you kind of go from this blank canvas thinking, well, there might be nothing, to just immersing yourself into this wonderful world of these small, micro, ethical, sustainable businesses. You think, wow, it's a rich seam, rich pickings. Yeah, as you say, you had to stop. Otherwise, you'd have too many options. You'd not have enough room for all of your chocolate. Absolutely. It sounds phenomenal. I can sense that hunger for the business to launch.
Yeah.
And do you think it's something that will just be boom? There's just masses of business, or do you imagine a slow build? And if it's a slow build, how are you going to get the word out there?
At the moment, that's one of the things we're not too sure how fast it will go. In some ways, we don't want it to be too fast, because we've got to find our feet. We need to get the processes going. Until we're up and running, there's going to be problems that we don't know are there. And so what we don't want is to go day one and start marketing and advertising and suddenly find we can't fulfill the orders. And because part of the thing for us is about the customer service. For a small business, it's about having that family feel to it, the friendly family feel. So if we start doing too much and we can't do that, I think we failed in what we're trying to achieve. So we're to start with, we'll just launch it to friends and family, and just tell them about it. And then through Anglia Ruskin University, through other people on my course who got connections, through the FSB that joined some of the sessions with David. And there's kind of lots of different avenues we'll explore first before we go into more formalized marketing, because we don't have the budget for that. We need to start small, and we just need to make sure we maintain a reputation, so we've got word of mouth and people come back for more. Because as well as just selling chocolate, we want to be selling subscriptions as well. So you get every month you get a box of a variety of different chocolates that we choose based on your overall preferences. So we just want to get repeat business as well, and slowly build that up, and hopefully grow it in a more manageable way, rather than sort of all of a sudden and can't cope. Yeah. If we get to the point where we can't cope, it's probably a good thing as well. We like to get to that point, but it's not. We're not desperate. We're not kind of going for a drastic growth right at the start.
And you mentioned all this chocolate, and you've got it coming into your stores. I know you've been having deliveries over the last week or two. Have you tried every one of them? Have you done your own taste testing in, and even if it's just a little snippet, just, we'll share a bar between us. Got to know what it tastes like.
We have tried some, yeah. We're trying to control ourselves, because it's trying 150 bars wouldn't be too good. Maybe over the space of a few years, but not together. But we're trying some of the different brands as well, and some of the different flavors, because we want to make sure that what we sell is good. We're eating some of it. Yeah, and it's going down well, I have to say.
It's great that you mentioned it earlier. How useful feedback is. And we've got a few ideas. Let's ask the business community for some feedback. What does the website look like? Any more ideas? Same with the chocolate, I imagine. How it goes, plus some feedback, and you build a much better picture of your client based on kind of their responses on your chocolate. I know we're pushed for time, as always. There's always so many things that we could explore, so many avenues that no doubt the listeners are kind of poking the screen saying, ask about this, ask about that. But time is always limited. So I'll hand over to you, David, to wrap up, if you would.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Nick. I think what we need to do is actually get Chris to point us in the right direction. In the coming days and weeks, people are going to be able to order. I know you want to start small, but our listeners, as Nick said, will be poking at the screen and trying to type and send us a message. How do I get hold of this chocolate? Where do I order it? How do I try it? So, how could they engage with you and potentially place an order via your website once it's out in general release?
Okay, so the business is called Chocoletta because it's chocolate in a letter. So it's the website is chocoletta.co.uk, but that's letter with a double TA at the end rather than an ER. So it's choc a letter with an A at the end .co.uk.
.co.uk. So there you go, guys. If you want to order and do some your own taste testing, all 150 bars, if you get one of each, you can do your own taste testing, and you can then put the feedback back on the website, and for others to know how great it is in the future. Chris, it's been a pleasure to have you here. To see you go through this journey from where lots of people are feeling that pain of certainly in the aviation industry, through to coming up with another fantastic idea, setting it up as a family, getting it off the ground in such a short space of time as well. That's the amazing thing that you've done. It's not, we're going to take a year or two. It's kind of like, we've got to do this. We're going to focus. We're going to get the job done. And I know you're still studying as well, and you've been super busy getting all your assignments up to date and completed and filed and stuff like that. So well done on the journey so far. And what we might do is get you back in maybe in 8 to 12 months time. Maybe then we could be in a studio, Nick, and Chris could actually come in and bring the chocolate bars, and then we could give them a good test taste. So Chris, thank you very much. Stick with us. So Nick, another fantastic show. Another fantastic story to see how someone is making or taking advantage of a challenging time, a pandemic time, the unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. But we're seeing quite a lot of this. We're quite, we're speaking to so many, not only students but business owners who are having to pivot their business and make the most of where we are.
Yeah, it's learning so much. I know my way around business, but everyone who's a kind of entrepreneurial mindset, constantly learning all the time. And there's one thing having the building blocks, okay, all of those that knowledge and that experience of how a business works, how to put the plan together, how to put the systems and strategies together to make it work. But then you kind of go to the next level of exploring what other people are doing, what the market looks like. And it's just fascinating. One of the things I enjoy most about business is the conversations about what's going on in your world. And thanks for Chris for being so open and sharing what the business looks like at this stage.
Great. Well, thank you once again, Chris. Thank you, Nick. It's always a pleasure to join you on these shows. If you have any questions you want to put to Nick or I or any of our future guest speakers, we'd encourage you to drop us an email. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, but the quickest and easiest way to get a direct question to us is email us. Hello at UniEE, that's UNIEE.co.uk, and send those messages in and we'll pick those up, and with the right guest we can ask them the questions, or we'll try and answer them ourselves. If not, we'll go out to our wealth of connections, Nick, the people that we trust and we rely on for knowledge and expertise as well, and we'll get them on the show to answer those questions. So from me, David Bell.
Me, Nick Looby.
And from Chris, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.